Yo, what's up gamers? Welcome back to this mini-series about becoming a better or more efficient scaper. Today's topic is alts. You probably clicked on this video because you want to start using alts or improve your alting game. Alts can be used in various ways to increase your efficiency. And today I'm gonna try to help you decide what kind of alt you want to make or help you in general with playing them. The type of alts can be divided in two groups. 1. Money makers, to help fund your Bibles, gear and your membership with bonds. And 2. Assistance alts. These interact directly with your main account, like with Slayer, PvM and trading items. This video will be divided into 3 parts. First I will go over money making alts, then the assistance alts, and lastly how to make the alts and tips on how to improve at playing them. Alright, let's dive in. I want to start off with this saying: sometimes you have to spend money to make money. This goes for a lot of things IRL, and it's the same for making alt accounts in old school RuneScape. You need to train your account and buy gear for it before you can start making money with it. So don't be afraid to spend a chunk of your bank. Try to see this as an investment. I don't expect people to make 3 or 4 alts right away. So if you are just looking for one alt for now, the best alt you can make is a Rune Dragon alt. Wow, boring. Well, this video is not about super niche and underground money makers, but about long-term consistent alt accounts. And the Rune Dragon is exactly that. Not only can you make 1.5 mil an hour with killing the dragons, an account with Dragon Slayer 2 completed is very versatile when it comes to alting. When you're doing something more AFK on your main, you can switch to killing Vorkat, craft rot runes, and with a couple extra quests, you can convert it into a Vyrewatch alt. For when you're doing something on your main that requires a bit more focus. And it can even be used to help you speed up certain PvM encounters. Although the requirements are quite steep, 200 quest points, high melee stats and 50 mil plus gear, but once up and running, your bank value will rapidly increase and you can easily sustain your account's membership with bonds. The best gear for Rune Dragons is as follows: full Justiciar, a Dragon Fire Shield for max AFKness, and either a Lance or an Osmund's Fang. For the inventory, 1 normal super combat dose or 2 divine super combat doses, 1 extended anti-fire dose, and 3 or 4 prayer pots, depending on your prayer level, and the rest of your inventory should be filled with karambans as they are cheap and have less delay than normal food, and you want to be praying protect from magic, piety and preserve if you're using normal super combat. I recommend playing this alt during an activity with occasional downtime. Good skill examples would be crafting lava runes, blast furnace, pyramid plunder and slayer. I made guides for all the alts discussed in this video in the form of a spreadsheet. I will leave this spreadsheet in the description down below, and while you're on your way towards the description, please hit the subscribe button as well. Thank you. If you want a bit more excitement from alting while doing AFK skills on your main account, you can choose for the PvM alt. Having Dragon Slayer 2 completed is probably still the best foundation, as this unlocks Ferocious Gloves, gives access to Vorkat and the Ava's Assembler, and with a couple gear upgrades like Void, you can still raid with your friends while still gaining XP on your main account. I cannot really say what the best boss is to kill, since it depends a lot on what you find enjoyable and how much gear you have available, but Vorkat and the new Phantom Muspa are quite accessible and consistent GP. For the Muspa, I suggest you do Song of the Elves and use a Bova if you don't have a Twisted Bow and other best in slot gear. Also Slayer bosses or God War Dungeon and even raids are possible. However, raiding demands more attention and therefore your XP rates on the main can suffer, so choose wisely. And for the skills that are good to do alongside PvM, I would say any bank standing skill like crafting and herblore, or of course Ardoin Rooftops, because it has very low APM. If getting 200 quest points on an alt sounds like complete misery to you, you are in luck today. I present to you the Skeletal Wyvern and the Brutal Black Dragon alt. This alt doesn't necessarily require any quests, but I still recommend doing the early game ones for the combat XP and some quests for 1 or 2 Slayer block slots. Because you need either 72 for Skeletal Wyverns or 77 Slayer for Brutal Black Dragons on it. Wyverns are the more AFK variant of Rune Dragons, and you can kill them with melee for around 1 mil GP per hour in profit. The best gear for them is full Justiciar, Dragon Hunter Lance on Crush, very important, and the Ancient Wyvern Shield to prevent getting frozen. You can also use a hit point scape and a regen bracelet to extend your trip length. Inventory: 1 or 2 normal super combats, 5 to 6 prayer potions, alchemy runes and karambans. And for prayer, you just want to pray piety and preserve. Brutal black dragons are best killed with ranged, primarily a dragon hunter crossbow or a twisted bow, for 1.1 to 1.6 mil GP per hour respectively. However, these require a bit more attention than rune dragons, since it is pretty easy to get caught in melee range by these things, and you can die very quickly if you don't run away. So keep an eye out for that. And for the inventory, you want to bring a Xerix talisman, a 2-dose divine ranging potion, 2 or 3 prayer pots depending on your prayer level and DPS, and a 1-dose extended anti-fire. You can also use normal diamond bolts or amethyst arrows to slightly get more profit per hour. And for prayer, protect from magic and rigor or eagle eye. And there's no need for bringing an anti-dragon shield, since your protect from magic and having drank a anti-fire dose will protect you fully from the dragon fire. And you can play both these alts during the same skills as rune dragons. And I would say you can play the Wyvern alt during a bit more intensive skills, maybe like Sepulcher is a viable option for a Wyvern alt, and Brutal Black Dragons are maybe less viable for stuff like that. So if you don't want a quest, these alts are great options. And now the last and my favorite money making alt, killing Vyrewatches. These are incredibly AFK and still decent GP per hour. With current prices, they are 5 to 600k GP per hour per account, and it's very easy to make and play multiple of these. The only questline you need to complete is the hierarchy one, and you can just train your combats at fire, so you don't have to spend weeks in Nightmare Zone before you can start making GP. The best welfare setup would be less than 20 mil GP, with pretty much the only cost being a torture amulet and a berserker ring. And the rest of the gear looks like this. Just try to stack as much prayer bonus in combination with strength bonus as you can. And depending on what items you pick up, their AFK-ness is unmatched in old school RuneScape. This allows you to play these during click intense killing or PVM and build capital over time. And even during Tritic mining, these are very chill to play, as you only need to click once every couple minutes. And for this one I have a bit more in-depth spreadsheet for making them from scratch. So if you want to make one of these, please check out the links in the description. You can probably make this account in less than a week and for less than 10 mil GP, excluding the gear. You might be wondering why I'm not suggesting a money-making method like dismantling bracelets of Ethereum or degriming herbs, even though they are really good GP an hour and basically have no requirements. The reason is that you already need a lot of capital to start doing them, and on top of that, with the methods I named before, they are all very AFK and you only have to click once or twice to stay alive or pick up the loot. And with all these processing item methods, you have to be constantly clicking to make money, making it pretty bad to multitask with, so that is why I am advocating the more AFK combat alts over processing alts. I do want to give a couple honorable mentions to AFK skilling money making methods that are pretty much made redundant by the Vyrewatch. First we have fishing Zulrah skills. This one is really AFK and with current prices around 200 to 250k GP per hour. So not that high anymore, they used to be a little bit better when Zulrah skills were more expensive. But it does require a couple quests like Underground Pass and Regicide and a pretty high fishing level. And then we have mining Amethyst. This one is around 400k GP per hour and it has pretty much no requirements other than the 92 mining requirement. But that can easily be obtained by doing either Volcanic Mine or some other AFK mining method. And a quick tip if you still do want to make an alt for Amethyst, bring a chisel to craft the Amethyst into dart tips so you never have to bank. But in my opinion, you should probably never play these now that Vyrewatches exist. Even though Vyrewatches can be pretty crowded, it is just always better to AFK for a couple minutes and pick up a blood shard and to slave for like 300-400k GP per hour with skilling. But if you really do enjoy playing the skilling alts, I would say go off. Now moving on to the assistance alts. The main priority with these kind of alts has to be the Slayer Lure alt. Relatively simple to make and can save you weeks on your 99 Slayer grind. And on top of that, it also makes it a lot more fun. What this account does is tagging and luring certain Slayer monsters towards your main so you can keep barraging. On some tasks this can result in a lot higher XP per hour. And your alt also can be on normal spellbook, so it can just pick up all the alkables and start alking them while luring your monsters. And that way you don't have to worry about running out of inventory space on your main account. However, this only works for main accounts, so if you're an Iron Man, you cannot really make use of this. To lure Slayer monsters, your alt also needs to have the required Slayer level. And the best bang for your buck when considering what Slayer level to get on your alt is, in my opinion, level 85, so you can lure Abbey Demons. It should only take you 50 to 60 hours of very AFK Slayer to get it, and it turns Abbey Demons into a very good task for XP and as well for GP. Other than Abyssal Demons, you can also lure Necrials, Dust Devils and Thzaars. When making this alt, it is very important to stay clear of certain quests for optimal AFK Slayer training. Most notable are of course Dragon Slayer 1, Elemental Workshop and Priest in Peril. So that way you can just canon the basic Slayer tasks like Black Demons, Greater Demons, stuff like that. And I've made again a handy spreadsheet to help you get your Slayer level up on your alt account with the least amount of effort. And quickly for the gear, you just want to stack as much prayer bonus as you can and use any form of a quick ranged weapon. Either a blowpipe, a magic shortbow, or maybe the new Venator bow can also be good. And don't forget your alchemy runes. Now that we are talking about Slayer, the next alt can also be very useful for it. And I'm talking about the Spectransfer alt. With 92 magic and a lunar spellbook, you can cast a spell called Energy Transfer. And with that you can transfer your special attack to another player. And if you combine this with using a Bulwark, Crystal Halberd or Dragon Claws, you can seriously speed up your Slayer task and gain a significant amount of melee XP. Ideally you want 2 of these accounts, both with a ornate pool in your POH. However, this can be quite expensive, so I don't recommend making this as your first alt, but if you already have a money making alt and maybe a Slayer lure alt, you can consider making a couple Spectransfers to really step up your alting game. And they can also be very useful for certain PvM encounters to speed up your kill times and your kills per hour. And at the same time they can function as a resupply alt, increasing your kills per hour even more. And resupply alts or trading alts can be used for various skilling methods as well, as basically a portable bank. Dolo Lava Runes, one of my favorite methods, is a good example. And so is running bones to yourself for prayer. But there are many more possibilities with this, so be creative and don't be afraid to test out different things. I want to close the video out by telling you some tips and tricks about alting. First off, I want to mention the Jagex launcher again. I did mention this in my previous video, and if you want a better in-depth guide on how to set it up, make sure to watch the How to Become a Better Skiller video. But this makes logging in on your alt so much easier to do with a one-click login button. And there's been so many times where I just couldn't get myself to type in all the emails and all the passwords for my alts, and just being a little too reclined running RD Labs or something. So I highly recommend you use the launcher. And you can also make your alting life a lot easier with the help of plugins. When doing any form of a combat alt, I suggest you turn on Idle Notifier and set the hit points and prayer values to something like 45 hit points and 5 prayer points. Then go to Rune Light, scroll down and select an option in the flash box. I like to use flash for 2 seconds, otherwise I'm just seeing red all the time. You can also turn on sounds, but I'm personally not a fan of that. And what this does, it will give you a flash on your screen when your alt is below 45 hit points or 5 prayer points. And when doing a non-combat alt or doing an AFK skill on your main account, you can turn on these 3 boxes at the top to notify you when you stopped making potions, stopped interacting with an object or stopped moving. And again, it will send you a red flash. One last thing about the notifiers. When playing Vyrewatches, you can turn on the option in ground items called Notify for highlighted drops, or set a notified tier to the tier for the blood shard, so you don't accidentally miss one. Also make sure to set up your ground items properly, that you can only see the items that you actually want to pick up by changing the hide under value. Otherwise it can be pretty distracting seeing all the item names on the screen. NPC indicators can be useful to see respawn timers and hide dead NPCs, especially useful for luring Slayer monsters. Object markers to highlight certain objects, to reduce misclicking like the doors at Vyrewatches or the barrier at Rune Dragons. For more accurate prayer management, I recommend turning on prayer dose indicator and show the time left. Because seeing that I have 35 prayer points left at 27 prayer bonus, I have no idea how long my prayer is gonna last, but the timer makes it more useful in my opinion. Bank tags and bank tag layouts to easily create alting tabs and to use them on more than one account without having to rearrange the whole bank. And while in the bank you can remove the placeholders of items that you always have in your inventory, like the armor here or like house tabs at Rune Dragons. And then filling your bank with bank fillers so you can deposit your inventory without depositing the items that you always need. Boost information to always stay potted while killing stuff. FPS control can be used to maintain PC performance when playing multiple alts. And this last one is a game changer. There's an option in the RuneLite plugin called Always on Top, and when doing something that only requires a small portion of your screen, like Herblore, you can disable that option on the account you're doing Herblore on, and then enable it on the account that you're alting on. And just shove your main under the alt, and this greatly reduces the mouse movement when alting. And you can create even more screen space to fit even more alts. I really hope you learned a thing or two and maybe start considering creating an alt account. And this video took me quite a while to put together, so please leave a like if you enjoyed the video and let me know down in the comments what you want to see for the next video in this kind of mini series on how to become a better scaper. Don't forget to check out the spreadsheet in the description. Alright, thank you guys so much for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.